right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another live stream here on Facebook Live. My name is Patrick France, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest. Glad to be with you all. If you guys can hear me, if you can see me out there, if the video's coming through good for you, let me know in the comments that everything's working for you. Also, let me know where you're tuning in from here today. If you're new here, welcome once again. My name is Patrick France. Every single Thursday, we go live here on Facebook where we talk about what's going on in the market today. Then we also talk about a general topic. For today, we're going to be looking at, is it a good time to buy? And then lastly, we always finish off with the fan favorite at the very end. Well, we'll analyze any stock that you want to take a look at in less than 20 seconds. So as always, before we jump into it, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that share button to the bottom right, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Good morning, Maria, coming in with the first comment of the day. Good morning. Good morning, Charles. Everything is fine. Awesome. Love hearing that. Jeff, good morning. Hopefully you guys are all doing well out there. Hopefully you guys are ready to get some good education, some good knowledge, and learn how to really put the tools that you have, the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, to practice and put them to use to get the best returns possible in the market. Hey there, Mark. Hopefully you're doing well. All right. So with that, let's go ahead. Take a look at what's going on here today in the market, and then we'll dive into our topic. So right now, the color guard is 2 ticks into the green. Therefore, we're somewhat bullish, and VectorVest advocates buying safe, undervalued stocks that are rising in price at this time. If we scroll down a little bit more, as always, we get the color guard here. And the color guard analyzes 3 of our key components for our market timing system that we have developed, and the proven track record, the proven system that we've had for 30 plus years now here at VectorVest. So as we can see, we track our 3 components: our price, which is the price of the VectorVest composite. And the price of the VectorVest composite, for anybody who's new, is an arithmetic indexed average of about 8,700 stocks that we currently track in the US market. And this gives us a better representation on what's actually going on in the market, because it's not just looking at the Dow's 30 or the Nasdaq's 100 or the S&P's 500, but it's looking at 8,700 stocks into one to give us a better overall picture of what the actual market is doing. The next is going to be the RT, or relative timing. The relative timing looks at the short-term price trend of the market. It's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, so anything above 1 shows the short-term trend is up. Below 1, the short-term trend is down. At 1.0, the short-term trend is actually neutral right now, or flat. And then the third indicator is the BSR, or buy to sell ratio. So every single day, VectorVest gives a buy, hold, or sell rating on each and every stock that we track, based upon a strict set of criteria and not based upon just some analyst opinions that we have, stuck in a back room somewhere. So when we look at the buy to sell ratio, anything above 1 tells us there's more buys than sells in the database, or that there's overall market strength. Below 1 tells us there's more sells than buys in the database, or overall market weakness. So at 1.53, that tells us there are more buys than sells currently, or that there's overall market strength. And we're going to be talking about these in the timing system in general, in more detail in just a little bit as well. After that, these 3 indicators are comprised to come up with the MTI, or market timing indicator. This is looking at the underlying trend of the market. Once again, it's going to be cast on a scale of 0 to 2. Above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. So at 1.22, that tells us the underlying trend of the market is currently up. After that, we then get the trend column, which we show 2 parts of the trend each and every day. So the first part refers to the primary wave, or simply the weekly trend of the market, the short-term trend of the market, if you will. As we can see, it is up since the price of the VectorVest composite is higher than it was 5 trading days earlier. The second part is looking at the underlying trend of the market, or the MTI. Since the MTI is above 1, the underlying trend of the market is also up. And then lastly, we get our calls column, which stands for our confirmed calls. And our confirmed calls are our most conservative timing system. They're our last signal we get to get into the market, and our last signal we get to get out. As you can see, we did get it confirmed up as of yesterday, telling us that as a more conservative, or the most conservative signal, if you haven't already started getting in, this is the time to be doing so if you haven't already started trickling yourself into the market. But once again, we're going to be talking about this in a little bit more detail in just a few moments. Salesh, if you're wanting to get your stocks analyzed, make sure to stick around towards the very end, and we will analyze your stocks for you at the very end of the today's session. Michael, I'm glad you could be here. I don't know what questions you have here, but things are looking pretty good. Hopefully you're in it as well. And hopefully you're making some nice gains as well with that one. All right. So we scroll down, as always, take a look at the advanced declines. Every single week, we like to look at the advanced declines because it's an important indicator to look at. When we have the market moving higher, we want to see a ratio of 2-to-1 with the advanced declines. So since the market's moving higher, we want to see twice as many stocks advancing than declining. Or if the market's moving lower, we want to see twice as many stocks declining to advancing. And that is because this gives us the indication, or this tells us the probability of the trade that we got into today. Let's say, are we on the right side of things? Do we have the probability in our favor? Because trading and investing is all about putting probabilities on your side and making sure that you have the best chances to win whatever trade it may be. So right now we're sitting at about 57% of stocks moving higher and 31% of stocks moving lower. Not quite that 2-to-1 ratio we like to see. Obviously, still early on. We could see some changes occurring throughout today's session, but typically we want to see twice as many stocks advancing and declining. We don't have that quite yet, so we do see a little bit of potential weakness with it. Too scared. Hey, that's fine. I've said it time and time again. Not going to get into it too much here today with that one, but it's not a trade for everybody. It is a trade that you have to have an extremely high risk tolerance to be able to sit through all the manipulation going on with it. But maybe if we analyze that later, I can talk more about it. But hey, I don't blame you. It's not a trade for everybody. That's for sure. All right. So then at the very bottom, we look at the major indices where the Dow is up 0.4%. The NASDAQ is basically flat right now. S&P is up 0.25%. VectorVest Composite up 0.3% so far. All right. So let's get into it. A lot of fear has been going on in the market. We've talked about this the last few weeks. If anybody's been following some of the YouTube videos that I've done or the YouTube content that we've had coming out, we've been talking about a lot of fear in the market. You have inflation fears. You have, the repo markets having some issues. There's just been a lot of over leveraging in the market, and people see that as a sign that bad things are coming down the road. When exactly, nobody knows, but definitely something you got to be careful of. So what we want to do here today is start off taking a look at the views, because every single night in the views, especially on Friday, which is where we're going to look, we do a update on the market climate where we look at inflation, earnings, and all the things that really give a high overview basically of where the market's at. So if we go into the VectorVest views and go to Friday, which would be, there we go, the 21st. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the pages at the top to the climate section, and this is where we'll really get started. Also, Dale's tuned in from Charleston, West Virginia. Glad to have a fellow West Virginian in here, Dale. Born and raised in Charleston, so glad you could be here. Love seeing fellow West Virginians, especially there's not too many people from West Virginia anymore. Everybody's pretty much moved out of the state at this point. All right, so as we scroll down here, I wanted to start off today talking about the analysis that we give here. Also, if you're not already on the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, especially with all the fear going on in the market, click on the link in the description of today's video. Sign up for the 2-week free trial. You can get this information every single week to keep you up to date and ensure that you never get caught off guard with what's going on in the market. So when I was coming up with today's topic to talk about, I've been looking at different things over the last couple of days, and one of the things I really wanted to focus on is looking at this data, because this data can really help us get a better picture of what's going on. So the CPI inflation, that's one of the big topics we've seen in the headlines over the last few weeks. And we can see on a scaling or putting in perspective, the current level is 4.2. And as those numbers get closer, working from left to right, getting closer to today's date, that number is actually declining, giving us a little bit better feel for what's going on, and knowing that, while yes, there is inflation fears, that's going to take a while, and actually it's starting to decrease a little bit. And keep in mind as well, the Fed in general, that's their whole purpose, is to maximize employment and keep, the inflation and dollar liquidity out there and keep that all balanced. Well, with that, the Fed has said, after all the bonds or the treasuries that they sold to cover the cost of the stimulus bills, they were expecting to see some inflation or expect to see some jumps in all that. We have seen that data coming out, but one of the things I've learned over my many years of investing is you can't fight the Fed. If the Fed at the time right now is saying, yes, we can expect to see a short-term jump, but expect to see those numbers come back down to a more comfortable level as we get further out from that March date there that we had, that tells us we need to, we need to let them do their jobs, follow what they're saying. If they're not really too worried about it quite yet, it shouldn't be something that you're too worried about. Now, it can be an issue that we all need to worry about later on, but right now, can't fight the Fed. They have a lot of tools up their sleeves to be able to, make sure everything stays where it is, or, that keeps the underlying issues depressed for longer than what most people think. So inflation, not really looking like that big of a problem. At least not as big as what some of the headlines make it out to be. Then we also scroll down, and one of the things I really want to look at is the S&P 500 earnings. Now, it's cast on a scale. We put this out, cast on a scale of 0 to 2. So above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. Well, let's look at it. Just on the 23rd, a month ago, is at 1.06. Then all of a sudden, the 30th, 1.07, 1.07, 1.07. And then last Friday got an update, 1.08. So earnings are steadily growing on the S&P 500. This is, as Dr. DeLito, our founder, says time and time again, the most important engine to drive stock prices higher. As long as earnings are continuing to grow, you could expect to see the markets continue to grow and continue to move higher as well. So hopefully this, hopefully this helps you guys out there feel a little bit better about the market conditions and get a better idea from the overview, the big overview of the market of where we're currently at. And knowing that it's not as bad as what some of the main headlines out there want you to believe. This information is something that has proven successful time and time again and helped our subscribers get out from the 2007-2008 crash. We avoided that one. In 2016, when we had the oil crash and it hurt the overall market, we got that information from here. It helped protect our subscribers again. So this is some data that has been proven successful time and time again to help our subscribers get out of the market before any major long-term decline would occur in the market. And this is something you can rely on and sleep well at night knowing exactly that you're in good hands, that, we're not as bad as what some of the headlines would make it out to be. Charles asking the link for the YouTube. So I don't have the link off top of my head, Charles. If you just go to youtube.com, search for VectorVest, you can find our channel there and all the great content there. Appreciate it, Rolly. All right, so things are actually looking a little bit better, a little bit more rosy than what the major headlines would want you to believe. Yeah, there's still some issues. Yes, there is some potential risks out there, but there's always going to be risks in the market. If there wasn't any risks out there, if there wasn't that next big headline to scare people to cause that potential risk or cause that potential fear, then everybody would be in the market and nobody be worried and there'd be zero risk, and that doesn't happen. So you always have to have some type of fear mongering out there. You always have to have some type of boogeyman right around the corner to add that risk factor to make buying stocks and trading stocks worthwhile. That's how you get that risk factor involved with it. So hopefully, it's a very simplistic description or way of defining it, but hopefully that helps you guys out and get a better understanding and feel a little bit better about where we're currently at in the market. All right, so we see this information. If you want to, you can just go here and read this all, or you can watch that nightly video we do right here on the main page where you have the daily color guard report and a special presentation. Every Friday in that daily color guard report, we recap all this information we just talked about. So you can always watch it there as well to make sure you never miss out on what's going on in the overall market. All right, so next thing I want to do, take a look at the VectorVest composite. So as we can see over the last year, just going to go ahead, zoom in. Let me go to my graph settings, take off the earnings per share because we don't really need that for what we're talking about right now. Let's go ahead and say RT. There we go. Back, maximize it. There we go. All right, so looking at the last year in the market has been phenomenal. Granted, we have seen some sideways move or action really for the last couple of months, but after such a substantial run that we saw coming into 2021, this is to be expected. To reset or hit that reset button essentially on the market, you have one of two ways of going about that. You either have a correction where the market drops significantly, or you have consolidation before another continuation to the uptrend that you've seen for the last year or so. So right now we're seeing a little bit more consolidation, more so than that correction that the main headlines were predicting. Everybody, no matter where you were getting your information from or where you're getting your news from, they were all saying pretty much the same story. Sell in May and go away. Well, we're in May now. We're actually close to the very end of May now, and the correction hasn't happened. So that is something that nobody really talks about, but can be a great way to reset all the indicators, by having some consolidation in the market. And that basically gives this same setup there as a correction would. It gives prices time to settle down. It gives people time to take some profit, reinvest into some other areas without having the market drop significantly, like we saw back, a year ago when the COVID crash hit. So right now, seeing this correction or seeing this consolidation is a strong sign for the overall market strength and the overall market health. As we mentioned, earnings is the engine that drives stock prices higher. And as we just saw, earnings are continuing to rise. So we could expect to see the price of the VectorVest composite and the overall market follow suit with that and continue to rise as well. So that is something just to keep an eye on and focus on as we move forward. Now, one thing as a technical level that you may want to keep an eye on is if you imagined a line right around, let's see where that is. Where's those highs at? Right around $65 or so on the VectorVest composite. That is really a level of resistance or support resistance. You can see it had a hard time breaking above that at the beginning of the year, finally broke above it a little bit. Let's go zoom in, 3 months. Finally broke out a little bit, came back down, tumbled back down, retesting that level and now trying to break above it. So from an early standpoint, we're above that 40-day moving average, slowly trickling ourselves in. And if we get above those highs there, that level of resistance, we get out of that zone essentially, that could lead to an extremely profitable breakout in the market. And we don't want you guys to miss out on that. Now, why am I talking about just, inflation, earnings, looking at a chart? Well, because VectorVest, you don't have to do all this on your own. We've been talking about all this information out there for about the last 15, 20 minutes or so. And it's actually a lot simpler than this. This is the things that you would have to do on your own, but in a lot more detail and spend a lot more time on it without the stock advisory app at your disposal. VectorVest wraps it all up, puts it right there on the homepage. Getting back into it, we just got that confirmed up as of yesterday, getting follow through here today. If you haven't started getting back into the market, this is our final signal to tell you to start doing so. Before that even, as a rule of thumb, we've talked about in the past, the earliest sign that the market's starting to turn around is that first green light in the price column of the color guard after the confirmed down. So If we look here, we saw that confirmed down. We've been that confirmed down up until yesterday. And we started seeing some lights back, or some green lights coming in on the 21st, the 20th. I could go back and look at even prior dates, but to keep it simple, we started seeing those green lights, and those green lights are a great opportunity to help trickle yourselves in. You know, if you're worried about where the market's at, instead of just going all in right as we get that signal, you could start saying, okay, today we had a green light. I'm going to buy one stock here today. The next green light, I'll buy another stock and then another one until your positions are maximized or full and you don't need to buy any more stocks at the time. And then at that point, you just let your stop criteria, your money management plan, do all the rest of the work for you. This is how easy VectorVest makes it. To do what we did, but in more detail and without the tools that you have at your fingertips here, would take you hours upon hours. I know this firsthand. I saw this firsthand because it happened to my dad. My father, has been managing. If anybody hasn't heard the story before, I know a lot of you guys have, but if anybody's new and you haven't heard the story before, my father's who introduced me to VectorVest many, many, many years ago. He's been a subscriber for over 20 plus years. And when I was 4 years old, I started getting into learning how to read charts using TC2000 and all those. I think it may have had a different name back in the day, or Warden or something, but similar program. And he used to have to go through all this information and try to find the economic data out there before the internet is what it is today. So took a lot longer. He would literally spend 5-6 hours a day just going through what the market is doing, what he can find on the economic analysis on the overall economy, what his stocks are doing, how to read those. And he would literally spend 6+ hours just on a daily basis just to manage the portfolio. Well, all of a sudden he started spending less time doing that, would spend maybe an hour or two a day. And I asked him, and that's how I found out about VectorVest originally, which is why I'm such a fan of it, which is why I've been here for over 10 years now. But that's the thing, is I have seen it firsthand how much time this kind of information can save an individual from having to try to do it on their own. To understand these graphs for the kiddos 4, 6, and 7. Yeah, I was 4 years old when I started getting into graphs. That's how he kind of introduced me to it, was looking at graphs first and foremost. First indicator I learned how to use was RSI. Taught me a few basic, tips and tricks with that. And that's how I started getting into being so interested in the markets, trading in general, and all of that. So yeah, VectorVest is a great tool for them to use, especially because it's not hooked up to any brokerage. So even if they do, have a paper portfolio that they place a trade with, it's nothing that you can undo or that would actually hurt you. So yeah, VectorVest is a great tool to help get kids started learning how to understand the markets. So yes, the answer, long-winded answer is yes, Min. All right. So getting back into it, what do we want to see here now? Well, we want to see the RT start picking back up. We want to see the RT getting above that level of 1. Getting to 1, especially when it was 0.97 just a week ago, is definitely a good sign, but we want to see that continue to strengthen and move back above 1. So instead of being flat, we then see an actual uptrend on a short-term basis. We want to see the buy to sell ratio continue to strengthen as well. That tells us that more and more stocks are participating in the market, and that's exactly what you want. You want the win to your sales, and this is how you find that. Training videos and look. Xavier, I'm not sure which training videos you're talking about, but if you give our support a call, explain which ones you're looking for. I'm sure we've got it there. There's a lot of training material we have on it, and most of it is fairly up to date. Maybe not with this most recent build, because this just came out a couple of weeks ago, but everything, the functionality and everything should still be the same. All right, so that's what we're seeing right now. We're now at that 2-to-1 bias that we were talking about earlier. We're at 50 or 60%, let's say, advances, 29% of decliners, 2-to-1 bias. We have that green light. We see the buy to sell ratio continuing to strengthen. Have the MTI at 1.22. We have everything moving in our favor. And this is one of the hardest things a lot of people have, or a lot of retail investors struggle with, is that they wait until the market has had too much confirmation, and then by the time they get in, it's basically the very last leg of that run. They make a small gain, and then the market tends to reverse and they lose, or their portfolio or their position goes into red. They sell it, and it's a vicious cycle that they get in. With a system like VectorVest, utilizing these green lights, utilizing the confirmed calls, utilizing the market climate that we update for you every single week, you can feel more confident and get in earlier, and especially utilizing something like the green light buyer, where you're trickling yourself in rather than just, all gung-ho at one time, can help reduce that fear, reduce that emotional stress from trading, and give you a more systematic approach and a more confident approach to jump in early rather than being the last one to the party, essentially. That's right, Jay. Glad you could be here. Hopefully you're doing well. So hopefully this kind of gives you guys an idea of, the whole topic for today was, is it a good time to buy? Well, we have earnings rising, which is definitely what you want to see. We have inflation. Yes, it's rising, but it's not rising nearly the amount that everybody keeps making it out to be. So that can help reduce that fear of that being a big risk currently. We have that confirmed up call as of yesterday. We had these green lights appearing in the color guard here over the last few weeks. We're seeing some good signs. And as I've talked to a lot of friends that are interested in getting in the market over the last few months, friends, personal friends outside of work and all that. And one of the things I always tell them is, if you never swing the bat, you never have that chance to hit the home run. Same thing would apply with buying. You have all these indicators telling us that it's time to finally start, dipping our toes in the water. If you don't ever do that, and you're going to miss out on that opportunity to make money in the market. That's why, as I've stated time and time again, rather be an optimist than a pessimist in the market, because the market tends to go up more than it goes down. So until these fears that you have out there, these macroeconomic fears that are out there right now, actually start showing signs of being a current issue, take the information, take the trend for what it is, and take advantage of the trend while it lasts. VectorVest has proven time and time again it's better to be a trend follower than a market predictor. And if somebody ever tells you they can predict the market, the best advice I can have for you is turn around and run as fast as you can. Xavier's asking, the question is everyone's mind, why VectorVest versus competitors? What's the distinguishing features? Xavier, I could spend a couple hours going over that. I'm sure there's a few people in here that could give you some insight into that. But the easiest way to describe it, the easiest way to answer that question in a very quick manner is, nowhere else out there has the track record that VectorVest has. In this industry, you either are right and you're successful with your system, or you're gone in a matter of weeks or months. VectorVest has been around for 35 years roughly now, maybe even a little longer. The only other service that I can think of that is even close to us is IBD, Investors Business Daily. I've used them. They're great service, but nothing out there makes it as fast and as easy to do that, especially with the proven track record that VectorVest has. So when you say competitors, I say who? There's nobody really out there that I would say is a true competitor, because yes, there's companies out there that do, maybe back testing or an analysis on individual stocks, or technical analysis, or, a tool that manages your portfolio. Nothing else out there has all those tools wrapped into one like VectorVest does. Nowhere else out there has the customer support that VectorVest does, the knowledgeable support of people that are willing to actually help you understand what you're doing and not just saying, hey, click this button, you got what you want, bye. Nowhere else out there has the proven track record of success for 35 plus years. I mean, I could get into all the little things about it, but really, the track record in and of itself, is the biggest, the biggest speak for your own kind of answer to that question. Do we use AI? No. Pablo is 100% correct with that. VectorVest is a tool. It all depends on how you use the tool. If you get a hammer to try to, slice your pizza, it's not going to work. You have to know how to use the tool to get the most effectiveness or get the most benefit out of it. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Tony, I use Thinkorswim to place my trades. It's not even close. I see a lot of people saying, oh, this free app gives me the same information. That is completely false. I see it because I do the annual or the mobile app reviews every single week. There's nowhere else out there that is going to give you the kind of information that VectorVest does, especially as simply and as straightforward as VectorVest does. And nowhere else out there, no matter who it is. You could give me any name you want. There's nobody else out there that has the track record that VectorVest does. There's a reason why we've been around for 35 plus years, and there's a reason why we are, in my opinion, the gold standard of what we do here. So, all right, hopefully that answers your question there. All right, so with that, let's go ahead, start to wrap things up, start to analyze your guys' stocks. So if you guys have stocks that you want to take a look at, let me know in the comments below. Let me see what those are, and we'll go ahead and start to analyze them together. I know one of the very first ones was apps, so I'll take a look at that first and foremost. Give me one quick second. While I'm getting a drink, while you guys are putting in your stock requests, don't forget, smash that like button, smash that share button. All that helps me out and continues to grow our awesome community that we built here. All right. So to analyze any stock, go here, type in a PPS for apps. So apps, great long-term potential. Less risk associated with it. However, you are in a steady decline, so good fundamentals, not the time to be long in it. Overall, stock is a good stock, just not the right time. Do you get more information about GBTC? Not sure I'm following you on that one, Raymond. I may have missed something there. I feel like I missed something now. All right. Let's see. I was missing a lot of them for Jay. Of course, Jay's putting them all in. RGR, great long-term potential. A little bit more risk associated with it. However, you have a nice steady uptrend. Overall, stock's favorable. All right. BAC after. So I will say this: if anybody is not familiar with it, if anybody has not been paying attention, the housing or the financial house committee or committee, whatever it is, had all the heads of the banks coming in yesterday. And if you guys haven't seen what Jamie Dimon said about the overdraft fees that they took from their users or their customers during the pandemic last year, $1.5 billion that they took from their customers last year, I strongly urge you to go find that clip. It really doesn't set well with me personally, but banks, I may start getting bearish on them if I see more of this kind of attitude from these guys about the average person out there that got hit hard throughout the pandemic last year. So let's go through the VectorVest analysis. Keep my personal opinions out. But Bank of America, poor long-term potential, but solid fundamentals. So more of a conservative banking stock. You have a nice steady uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. UNFI, great long-term potential. A little bit more risk than the average stock out there. Nice steady uptrend. Overall, stock's favorable. LAKE, great long-term potential, less risk associated with this stock. You have a steady decline though. So good fundamental stock. Unfortunately, not the time to be into it. Gold, silver, we talked about it last week. I like the gold and silver play from a long term. We're still on it, but with Lake, for example, this is Lakeland Industries, not Kirkland Lakes. Sorry, excuse me. Good fundamentals. Decline though on short-term basis, so it tells us not the time to be into it. Overall good stock, just not the right timing. Glenn keeps blowing up our chat. Give me 1 second, folks. There we go. All right, so let's get to the next one. FEYE. FEYE, great long-term potential, but does have a little bit more risk associated with it. You have a nice steady uptrend. Overall, stock's favorable. HD, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. A nice steady uptrend. Overall, definitely a favorable stock. Plug your drink, Michael. If they want to come out and tell me, if they want to come and sponsor our streams, by all means, I will plug their drink. But until they are an actual sponsor of our streams, I will not be plugging anybody else. All right, so let's go see. Shop, SHOP. There we go. Shop, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. It is in a slight uptrend, but really, we want to see it above 1.1 or higher. At 1.07, it is in a slight uptrend, more flat than anything else. Overall, good stock. I'd be a little careful with that timing, though. Let's see. RFP. Great long-term potential. Less risk associated with this stock. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, definitely a favorable candidate here. DG. Dollar General. Great long-term potential. Less risk associated with it. You're in a slight uptrend, but not much. I'd like to see that RT pick up a little bit. If you're already into it, I'd be keeping a closer eye on RT, making sure it doesn't drop below 1. Overall, good stock. Just keeping on that short-term timing there. RIDE, RIDE. Oh, RIDE. There we go. So RIDE, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're in a steady decline. Overall, definitely not a favorable stock. This is a very risky play, so be careful with that. Very speculative there. WSR, great long-term potential. However, it does have some risk associated with it. Also, it's in a steady decline. Therefore, the stock's about average, but not the time to definitely be long in it. MED, great long-term potential, less risk associated with this stock. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, definitely a winner. SMBR, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. However, the timing has been pulling back. Hopefully we can see a reversal. Not the time to be long in it, but definitely one to keep on our radar. If we can see that RT pick back up, that could hopefully, give us a new entry. If you missed out on that first run, hopefully give us a new entry in the very near future. Coin at 420. I wouldn't say so. Until we see some actual numbers, Coin is one that was supposed to come out at 200, showed up at like 380, ran up to 430 or so, and then came tumbling back down to 200. I'm going to stay away from it. It's a very speculative play right now. Poor long-term potential, a lot of risk. It's in a steady decline. Overall, it's not favorable. Until we can see that stock come back down towards more realistic valuations, I feel like, and I could be wrong, this is purely speculation, but I feel like there's a reason why this stock the DPO got halted before actually getting released. There's a reason why there was that delay. I feel like it was a lot of big money, bought up all the shares for cheap, sold them at a lot higher of a price, shorted the stock, basically rode it all the way down, made money off of selling it for extremely higher prices than what it should have been at. And then, maybe once those shorts cover, maybe once we see this get down, mid 100s, maybe even double digits, then I may consider looking at it. But right now, with that much risk involved with it, with that little of data to back it up, I'm going to be staying away from this one. COST. So Costco, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a nice steady uptrend. Overall, stock's definitely favorable. Let me make sure. Let's see. What's your point of view on crypto? Is VectorVest going to support analyzing currencies on the app? Alberto, I'm not really our crypto guy. I like crypto. I like the functionality it has. I like the theories behind it. But we have a guy over on our YouTube channel, Jason. We call him our crypto connoisseur. He would be the guy to ask. I don't really deal a lot with cryptos. I know that we're working on trying to get something with cryptos, but I don't know exactly what, and I don't want to misspeak. So I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, Jay. That's right. I would love to see that. No one is asking about Palantir. What's Palantir? TR? Yeah, Palantir. Palantir, very speculative, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk. It's in a slight decline. Overall, not favorable. Hasn't really started taking off. That's why nobody's talking about it yet. ROGFF. Great long-term potential, but does have a little bit of risk associated with it. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. At $1.89, that's a lower dollar stock, so be careful with it. But Rocks Gold, just by the name, I'm going to assume that it's in the gold and silver industry, which, as I stated last week, is not a bad place to keep an eye on right now. SQ. Why am I not finding Square? SQ, there we go. SQ, about average long-term potential, good fundamentals though. However, timing is not quite there. 0.87 is in a steady decline right now. Overall, the stock's about average currently. Need to see something really get that going or reinvigorate that one. Let's see. XROF, EXROF. XROF, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. However, you are starting to see that RT finally picking back up, crossing above 1 for the first time in quite some time. Overall, stock's not favorable. It is a speculative play. You guys know my take on this one. One thing I have been keeping an eye on, Jay, if you look at, let's go 6 months. I bet you guys know where I'm already going to go with this, but here you have higher lows and also lower highs. So you have some consolidation forming on XRO. We need some big news or need something to really make it pop out of that consolidation. We have some wedging on it. I'm keeping an eye on that. I was actually noticing that this morning. So wanted to throw that out. Drew's saying try Black Rifle coffee. Drew, I used to be a big coffee drinker. Then all of a sudden, like a year or two ago, coffee was making me all jittery and it would make me feel cruddy for the rest of the day. So I stopped drinking coffee. My wife still loves it. I used to love coffee, but all of a sudden it just started not settling with me. And, the energy drinks have been a better choice. I get the same benefit, just don't feel crummy the rest of the day. So that's why I'd like to try it, but coffee is just not something that has been settling with me the last couple of years. Don't know why, but it is what it is. All right. MO, good long-term potential. A little bit better than average safety involved with this stock compared to the average stock out there. You're in a slight uptrend. Overall, stock's favorable. Do we analyze IPOs? Yeah, we just looked at, we get IPOs. Once they're starting to trade, they get put in the database. So yeah, we analyze IPOs, anything that gets requested, all of that gets added here. LGIF, let's make sure, LGIH. There we go. Great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable. All right, we'll do 2 more here today. Mark saying mug. Oh, by the way, for anybody who does follow our YouTube channel, I did a video earlier this week on the whole GameStop thing. If you guys haven't gone and checked it out, go check it out. It's the thumb says buy, hold, or buy, vote, and hold. There's a pinned comment there with a link. All you got to do is click on that link, follow the comment. There's a hidden message on the GameStop site. Play that. Once you see it, play it. Let me know. Whoever has the highest score by tomorrow at 4:30 when the market closes will be winning a free mug. Type in your score in the comment of that pin section or pin comment there, and that's all you got to do. Whoever has the highest score by tomorrow at 4:30 or 4 o'clock Eastern will win a free mug. So I know a lot of people like trying to win those mugs. This is a new opportunity for you guys to do that. So if you haven't done that after the session here today, go ahead and do that. Go try to enter a chance to win the free mug. All right. So 2 more here. Let's go ahead and BCC. BCC, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a nice steady uptrend. Overall, the stock's definitely favorable. Quitter double up on it. On what, Drew? Oh, the coffee? Yeah, no. I am good. PRFT will be our last one for the day. And as always, if you're already a subscriber, all you have to do is pull up the app, click on the icon in the upper right, the magnifying glass, and you can do the same analysis on any stock, anywhere, at any time. If you're not already a subscriber, just click on the link in the description of today's video, sign up for the 2-week free trial, and you can do this right away. Not a used mug from Glenn? No, Jay. I will make sure it is clean, so they will not be a used Glenn mug. All right. PRFT, great long-term potential, less risk associated with this stock. You have a nice steady uptrend. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable. All right, so let's go ahead back to the overview page. We're still 2 ticks into the green, therefore the market is still somewhat bullish, and VectorVest advocates buying safe, undervalued stocks that are rising in price at this time. We scroll down a little bit more, still see those green lights appearing in the price and the buy to sell ratio. Buy to sell ratio actually improving since we started today's session. Looking at the advanced declines, just teetering right around, wants to be that 2-to-1 ratio, keeps bouncing back and forth. Right now we're at 59% of stocks moving higher, 30% of stocks moving lower. Would like to see that get slightly better so that way we can get back to that 2-to-1 bias there. Taking a look at the major indices, the Dow still up 0.3%. NASDAQ finally turning back into the green, up about 0.1%. Then we've got the S&P up 0.2%. VectorVest Composite up 0.4%. So overall, things are looking good here today. We could definitely see a slight improvement, but we'll take it. So with that, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, if you haven't already hit that like button, if you enjoyed today's session, if you like the analysis on your stocks, if you learned something new, hit that like button, hit that share button. All that helps me out and continues to grow this amazing community that we built here over the last few years. So with that, take care. Thank you guys for tuning in here today. Have a great rest of your trading day. Be safe out there. Have a great weekend. And make sure to be here next Thursday as we go live for another stream here on our Facebook channel. So until then, take care. Adios. Toodles.
Yeah.